I'm hoping that I can ensure the recommendations will provide the gift of reading that will bring joy and fascination at every page that is turned. Hi everyone, it's me, Jess. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new to my channel. This is the first time I've put together a Christmas books gift guide. I'm very excited about this. It was a really fun video to research and put together, and I hope that you enjoy it. What I've essentially done is I've created some profiles of people that are in my world that I've had to think about buying books for, and assuming that these people exist in many people's orbits, I think you could create an endless number of these profiles. So I'm happy to do another video like this if people like it. I have a few ideas for you today. So that being said, each book that I recommend today could be excellent as a standalone gift for anyone, depending on what their personal choices are. But I have tailored this list for certain people in mind. I have carefully selected books for individuals that I know in my life and specific readers' taste. So the first profile that I created is for, let's call him Stan. Stan is your dad, your uncle, your grandfather, who is a history buff. This person loves reading about history, loves reading about the big wars, for example. They might be someone who served in the military. They might be someone whose father or grandfather served in the military. They're the type of person who is very community oriented and likes to make furniture, restoration projects maybe. This is the person that comes to mind when I think of Stan. He's got a fascination with aviation and warplanes and the history of World War II particularly, maybe because one of his relatives fought in World War II and that really inspired him and captured his imagination from a very young age. So for Stan, I would recommend, now I haven't read this book, but I've heard amazing things about it. I would recommend first off, The Wager by David Grann. It's a story about a shipwreck, mutiny, and murder, and it's a nonfiction book, and it's the 5th by this American journalist, David Grann. It focuses on a mutiny on a ship called the Wager Mutiny. It sounds gripping. The second book that I would recommend for Stan would be In Memoriam by Alice Winn. And I have read In Memoriam, and I loved it. It's about the First World War. It follows the stories of two men, first off as boys in an all-boys school, and then later their experiences fighting in the war. Even though it's dark at times, it's also, she really brings you into the experience of camaraderie that men had both at the boys' school and really the similarity between camaraderie in the boys' school and camaraderie on the battlefield and in the trenches is there. And it's just a wonderful book. It's also a love story. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And I think it would be an excellent gift for Stan or somebody like him. The next person I have in mind is, you know, that friend who always says to you, I don't have time to read books. I am a busy person. I am a corporate lawyer. I am working at a tech startup. I am busy, 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 and I don't have time to read. I've got 2 little kids at home. I've got too much going on. I don't have time to read. Let's call her Sarah. But Sarah does have some leisure time. Outside of work, what does Sarah typically do? She likes networking, going to networking events. She's really into fitness. She's into travel. She's that go-to person for everybody. Her phone is always on. She's always answering her phone. She has a very hectic schedule. In her downtime, she likes to listen to podcasts. She'll watch a few TED Talks. For her, I have some pretty specific suggestions. One of the first things I would say is that Sarah might enjoy an audiobook. If Sarah already enjoys podcasts, she might enjoy an audiobook. If not an audiobook, then I would recommend essay collections, short story collections, a shorter book, and then I have a couple of these that are specific. So this is a great short story collection, How to Pronounce Knife by Souvankham Thammavongsa. This is a wonderful set of short stories. The wonderful thing about short stories is you can read them one in the evening before bed to settle down in the bath. And these are wonderful. These are about immigrant experiences, and I found them to be very well written, very unique, very interesting. I've really enjoyed this short story collection. A short book, which I loved this year, is Foster by Keegan. This book is so short. It's less than 100 pages. I'm sure that Sarah could find the time to read it. And it's a very wonderful, touching story about a girl who goes to stay with another family because her family is preparing to have preparing to have another baby. And it's just a very touching story about home, belonging, those sorts of themes. If not those two fiction options, I would definitely recommend essays. I read this essay collection last year, Trick Mirror Reflections on Self-Delusion, and I found it so good. It's all about topics ranging from our obsession with productivity to self-image. There are some feminist essays in here, one called Pure Heroines, which I really adored. There's an essay on reality TV where she writes about her experiences on reality TV. I think this could be a great gift for a busy person who doesn't have time to read. And then the last recommendation I'd make is this nonfiction book, How to Do Nothing, which would maybe encourage that person in your life to take a moment and think about why they're so busy and they don't have time to read, and reflect on that idea. If you really wanted to, if you were close with them, and say this is a sister or someone that you felt close enough to that you could broach the topic with them, this would be a great way to do that. We all have a Sarah in our life. My next idea of a profile was, now it doesn't have to be your boss, but I think of this person as a boss. That boss who is very progressive. They ride their bike to work. They go hiking on the weekend, and they're really into nature and the environment. They're very environmentally conscious. They're usually leaders in their communities. Let's call this person Alex. Alex is known for leading by example, promoting eco-friendly practices, both in the workplace and in their personal life. For Alex, I would recommend, well, the first book that I would recommend that I read this year, which I thought was fantastic and has been on a bunch of lists for awards, is Birnam by Eleanor Catton. Eleanor Catton wrote The Luminaries about a decade ago. Birnam is about a kind of an ecological guerrilla group that they're fractured in their leadership because they are thinking about appropriating a piece of land, a property that's owned by a wealthy couple who they later find out has been purchased by an evil billionaire. And then they decide one of the leaders wants to work with this evil billionaire, and some of the other members of the group think that that is complete violation of their ethos, of their set of values. It all goes from there. It is drama, adventure, thriller. It's a great ride, and I would highly recommend it. The other one that I would recommend I read last Christmas or the Christmas before, and that is The Overstay by Richard Powers. This is told from the points of view of quite a number of different characters, but the basic idea is that, and a lot of them are environmentalists, some of them are political activists, some of them are scientists, and it's about current issues having to do with the environment, and also based on the idea that we're all part of the same ecosystem. I really enjoyed this book, and I would definitely recommend that for somebody like Alex. The last book that I would recommend for Alex is one that I haven't read myself yet. It's Braiding the Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It has themes of the spirit of community, reciprocity, a different kind of economy. Like we have our market economy, but I think this is about more of a gift economy. And it's about 4 aspects of being: mind, body, emotion, and spirit. These kinds of themes that are normally Indigenous themes. It's supposed to be a really wonderful book. The byline is Indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teaching of plants. I want to read it myself. I want someone to give that one to me for Christmas. And I don't ride my bike to work. Okay, so next up is your son, your brother, your friend's brother, your cousin, basically that bro in your life. That That bro in your life, let's call him Mike. Mike, who he likes to play poker. Mike likes to watch the football game. He likes to play poker. He likes to go to the gym, and he loves The Godfather. And he loves movies in general, but he especially loves The Godfather. You know the person I'm talking about. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you have a Mike in your life. So for Mike, the first book that I would recommend to Mike, which I've read and really enjoyed, is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Ready Player One is perfect for Mike. It's set in a dystopian future where people escape their reality by entering a virtual world called Oasis. It's filled with action and adventure and a quest that takes the reader on this like thrilling journey. It's a captivating page turner. It's just like The Godfather in classic cinema. It's a celebration of pop culture, especially from the 1980s. And Mike, with his love of movies and tech and video games, he would probably appreciate this. The next book that I would recommend for Mike is the 1967 novel The Power of the Dog, which was recently made into a film. This is the epic portrayal of the drug trade and organized crime in the late 20th century. It weaves together complex characters, intricate plot lines, very reminiscent of the storytelling in The Godfather. I think that would be good for Mike. It's in the same vein as The Godfather. My final recommendation for Mike is a nonfiction book by an author whose book, Say Nothing, I just finished reading, Patrick Redden Keefe. He's got a new book out called Rogues that is nonfiction. It's 12 essays, enthralling stories of misbehavior and skullduggery. And he is an amazing journalist. His work is impeccably researched. These essays on these characters, these rogues, are meant to be fantastic. I would love to have that book for Christmas. All right, here we have that matriarchal kind of character. It could be a younger person, could be a mother, could be an aunt, could be a grandmother, could be a friend, could be even your daughter could have these characteristics. It doesn't have to necessarily do with age. So this friend, daughter, mom, aunt is a little bit too obsessed, either outwardly or secretly, with the royal family. Also equally as obsessed, either outwardly or secretly, with Benedict Cumberbatch. She likes to drink a lot of tea. She might like to go to the ballet. Let's call her Emily. Emily is someone who has like an art history background, a background in history. She's got some kind of fascination with the monarchy that goes beyond celebrity gossip. She appreciates the historical tradition and significance associated with royalty and royal families and heiresses in general. And for this person, I would recommend anything, really anything by Philippa Gregory, but in particular, The Other Boleyn Girl, which I think is supposed to be Philippa Gregory's best. Particularly the one with this cover, I think would be the most appropriate if you can find it for Emily. This novel provides a captivating blend of historical fiction and royal intrigue focused on the dramatic events surrounding Mary Boleyn, sister of Anne Boleyn, during the Tudor era. It offers a rich historical backdrop that aligns with Emily's interest in history, particularly British history and royalty. The book delves into the complex dynamics of the Tudor court, exploring the relationships, power struggles, and scandals within the royal family. Emily, as a historian and royal family enthusiast, will likely appreciate the detailed portrayal of court life. If not anything by Philippa Gregory, I would recommend, in kind of the same vein, but a little bit more literary, I would recommend the Wolf Hall trilogy by Hilary Mantel. The Wolf Hall trilogy, I've read Bring Up the Bodies, and I think I started but didn't finish Wolf Hall. I'd like to go back and read these again. This trilogy includes Wolf Hall, Bring Up the Bodies, and The Mirror and the Light, which was her last book. These provide a meticulous and immersive exploration of Tudor history focused on the life of Thomas Cromwell, who was a key figure in the court of King Henry VIII. Hilary Mantel's writing is very skillful, and she brings these historical figures to life with very complex characters and intricate plotting, a lot of detail. Emily, with her appreciation for rich character development and historical accuracy, will likely find these aspects very compelling. And then finally, my last suggestion for Emily, which is a little bit more commercial, but which is a book that I really enjoyed, is Kristin Hannah's The Nightingale. This book actually made me cry. It's set during World War II. It tells the stories of these two sisters. One of them works as a spy. It's a very compelling read, and I think it would very much appeal to Emily. I just am having so much fun with this. I've had so much fun putting this together. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. Next up, we have the emo kid. This is the only way that I can describe this character. This is your 20-something, 19, 18, 20, 21. Let's call them Jordan or Taylor. Any name will do. Jordan is a thoughtful and sensitive college student currently navigating the complexities of identity and self-discovery. With a major in sociology, Jordan is drawn to understanding human experiences and is particularly passionate about advocating for LGBTQ+ rights and representation. Jordan's hobbies include poetry writing, art, and photography. And music. The first book that I would recommend for our character Jordan here is, believe it or not, Orlando by Virginia Woolf. This isn't the fanciest copy, it's my copy, and I adored this book. Orlando is a page actually to Queen Elizabeth and beau at the court of King James, ambassador to the pompous palaces of Constantinople. There he undergoes a miraculous transformation. While revolution explodes around him, he sleeps for days and finds on waking that he has become a woman. Orlando as a woman is as beautiful, sensuous, and unfashionably irrepressible as when she was a man. Orlando is fantastic. I loved it. Huge fan. Highly recommend. However, if you would like to gift something a little bit more modern, I would also recommend My Policeman by Bethan Roberts. This tells I think it was inspired by the true story of a relationship between E.M. Forster and a policeman, an unnamed policeman, and his wife was the main character in this book. It's set in 1950s Brighton. Marianne, who's the name of the wife, she first falls in love with Tom. He teaches her to swim. A few years later in the Brighton Museum, Patrick meets Tom, and Patrick is besotted with Tom because he opens his eyes to a glamorous, sophisticated new world. Tom is their policeman, and in this age, it is safer for him to marry Marianne. The two lovers must share him until one of them breaks and their 3 lives are destroyed. This is a wonderful book. I loved it so much, and I think it would be a fantastic gift for Jordan. And then finally, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Ellis Oseman. So Solitaire is the book that I would recommend, or the Heartstopper series. The Heartstopper series has a 5th book, a Christmas book, coming out this season. I think that's what she's best known for. The Heartstopper series draws on characters from her first book, Solitaire. Charlie Spring, the brother of Tori Spring and Nick Nelson, in their romantic relationship. Solitaire follows a Year 12 student, chronic pessimist. Throughout the novel, Tori creates and destroys relationships, debatably platonic or romantic, while managing family issues, mental health, and the uprise of a local prankster group whose actions are both growing concerning and dangerous. This is great. I would definitely recommend it for Jordan. So my last recommendation is for your friend. I think we all have a friend like this as well. Your friend who kind of thinks that you're a bit of a snob for being a reader. Doesn't kind of, actually thinks that you're a snob for being a reader. Let's call her Amy. So Amy is like a down-to-earth, very practical woman, approaches life with a sense of humor, with a laid-back attitude. She likes to hang out with friends. She likes to connect with friends. She likes to unwind. And she sees reading as just a personal preference, and she doesn't really understand the allure of spending hours and hours immersed in books. She teases her bookish friends, playfully calling them book snobs, but she appreciates the diversity of interests and hobbies that other people have. So we're going to try to convert Amy. She watches a lot of TV. She likes do-it-yourself crafts. She likes binge watching TV shows. I tried to find some more commercial books on my shelves that I thought Amy might appreciate. The first that I'm going to recommend is The Mystery of Mrs. Christie by Marie Benedict. I read this last year in the fall because it tells what is a fictional story about what might have happened for the very true event of Agatha Christie going missing for 11 days. Marie Benedict managed to build a whole narrative around that particular happening in 1926 when she went missing. And I think just because Agatha Christie is so well known and it's such an interesting story that maybe Amy would appreciate this book, that maybe Amy would be convinced to read this book. And then after that, she might want to read some Agatha Christie books. I would also recommend Anxious People by Frederick Backman for Amy. This is just a very relatable book. It's very funny. It's very endearing. And I enjoyed it thoroughly when I read it 2 or 3 years ago. It's a very funny, comical situation that people find themselves in, but it also has undertones of seriousness to it. Looking at real estate isn't usually a life or death situation, but an apartment open house becomes just that when a failed bank robber bursts in and takes the group of strangers hostage. It follows the story of the bank robber, and it follows the story of the realtors, and it follows the story of each of the characters that are taken hostage in this situation with a lot of humor and a lot of heart. The last friend in your life is that person who you know already reads a lot of books. They might be an English teacher, they might be a professor, they might have a booktube channel. No, this is for your friends who do read, do enjoy literature, but might want something a little bit different, a little bit more entertaining to read than what it is that they read for their courses. For this person, I would first off recommend They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This is a thriller set on a university campus. It's very, very good. It has a very big twist in the middle. I loved it. It tells the story of Dr. Clark, who searches for the worst man at Gorman University and plots his demise. So it's a very feminist book. And it also follows the story of a Gorman student named Carly Schiller, who is just trying to survive their freshman year. It's very, very good. Highly recommend. I would also recommend All's Well by Mona Awad. This is a very kind of crazy, funny story about a woman who becomes completely unhinged. So she is a professor in a small college in the theater department. She's determined to put on a production of All's Well That Ends Well, and she's sort of fighting with the administration. They want to put on a production of Macbeth, and the students want to put on a production of Macbeth. And so our main character, Miranda, it's really about her struggles in this environment. There's also a conversation to be had with this book about chronic illness. I still find that it's a very good and entertaining read, even with those more serious themes. And then finally, I would recommend, and this was given to me as a gift one Christmas, myself being a teacher, Educated by Tara Westover. This book is so inspiring because Tara writes about her experiences growing up without really being cloistered from the rest of the world and without access to education. And then she talks about how her life really changed when she finally did get access to education and was able to get away from her parents. So I would highly recommend this one. If you know someone who's an educator, it will really help them to appreciate the value of their work. And that's it, everyone. That's my first gift guide ever. If you enjoyed this and you had as much fun watching it as I had fun making it, I would be happy to do a second installment with other types of profiles. If you can think of other people that you're looking for books as gifts for in your life, or other people that weren't similar to some of the profiles that I discussed today, please leave a comment in the comment section below, and I would be happy to make suggestions there in the comments or put together a second video like this. Happy holidays, happy book buying, happy gift giving, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!